Hello and welcome to the Weird News Network. I'm Tony Pratt, your host.
And I'm Sean Sandman Barnes, your co-host
for the Weird News Network.
Well, Tony, what are we going to be talking about tonight?
We're going to talk about some NASA footage, right?
Ooh, NASA.
Because that's always solid evidence, right?
Exactly.
Because that, we know that we didn't fake it, right?
NASA would never fake anything.
Neither would I, but at least not as far as UFO type stuff. Not any paranormal things, because that once you do that, then you have discredited yourself. Well, if I was doing a movie, maybe I could
movies are different.
Create something, some kind of theatrical production. That's different. But yeah, NASA.
Yeah. What about our boys in NASA?
What about NASA? Those boys, those boys in brown.
I've got an insider in NASA.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I know somebody who works inside NASA, high up.
Does he know any of the Nazis that are running it? Or
Not that he admits to.
Not that he admits to. No. Okay. Have you asked him about that?
I have asked him about a couple of things, yeah.
Yeah. So he won't talk about, well, we know that, Nazi scientists, rocket scientists were recruited.
Oh, yeah, man.
And
paperclip.
Work with NASA and all that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are into the paranormal understand this, but we're always going to talk to people that, this is new to them, so we're going to act like it's new to us too. But NASA has some shots from the International Space Station.
Right.
I guess that's NASA. International Space Station, is that NASA?
Who knows these days? I mean,
or is it?
Space is privatized.
We got Russians
now.
up there. We got
Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you can pay, I think, to go.
Oh, sure.
It's like 30,000 or something.
Lance Bass was going to go up with the Russians or something like that.
Right. Well, we had talked about in a previous conversation about these black triangles that are, from the live feed of the
ISS,
the International Space
Station.
Those are,
by the way, those are my favorite UFOs.
Those are your favorite UFOs?
Triangles, yeah.
Well, that was my first UFO sighting that I really, had was a black triangle. They didn't quite look like these black triangles. Mine was different, and it was just one.
I've had one UFO sighting. It was it was a white cigar shape.
White cigar shape. Interesting. Yeah, I had my first film that I ever made of UFOs. I captured a cigar-shaped object that was metallic looking that became an article on Coast to Coast AM magazine formerly with Art Bell, now with George Norrie. And I nicknamed the cigar-shaped object the Clinton Mobile.
Oh my God!
Because this was during the that whole scandal, right?
Yeah.
Clinton is the only president that was impeached there previous to
during that time.
The former guy.
So what are we looking at here?
We're looking at 3 of these triangles.
This is from the ISS.
International Space Station, yep. And they're just solid black, they look like isosceles triangles, and we're kind of seeing them at an angle, but I guess that's the Earth down there below.
This was released by NASA? Was this released?
There's a feed. There's a live feed from the International Space Station that anybody has access to.
Okay.
So
someone
snapped that. Yeah, they did a screenshot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very intriguing. I mean, it does look like this 3 black triangle shaped objects.
Yeah, and they have a video of it that you see them flying by. Of course, that could be faked as well, and something where it's just a solid black object. Yeah. But these black triangles, actually, there was an attorney out west named Peter Gersten who filed a lawsuit with every state of the United States because there's a clause in the Constitution, a little-known clause, that says the states must alert the populace against the threat of an invasion, right? So there were so many black triangle sightings at that time in the United States that he just filed a separate lawsuit, and I was his man in Tennessee, right? And so I sent it over to the governor, and the governor and the Secretary of State both had to sign this document and return it to me. It was really cool. It was a Republican governor, and Sundquist. I don't know if you remember Sundquist, but
Before my time.
I thought that was interesting, you know, and it's a serious lawsuit. It's a group called Citizens Against UFO Secrecy Cause, CAUS. You can look it up. But
so the lawsuit was what he thought the black triangles were invasion threat?
well, we don't know what it is, but obviously if there's things flying up in our airspace and we don't know what it is, then yeah, it could be a threat. So we're supposed to, the public is supposed to be alerted against the threat of an invasion.
So what was the lawsuit? That he wanted them to admit that there was a threat, or what was? I mean, what was the?
Right. He wanted them to address what these were, address UFOs, because they wouldn't even, you know, talk about it back then. I mean, you could do Freedom of Information Act searches and things like that, but that was about it. So he just wanted them to acknowledge that this was going on.
So he was thinking that the state government.
Well, it was
knowledge.
It's from the United States Constitution, but it's talking about the states have to alert the people. They've got to put out an alert that there's these black triangles, there's these things flying around, just so you'll know, you know. But you know, the whole purpose was to bring attention to the UFO question.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll buy that. But
I mean, the guy's a big-time lawyer. He's not a joke, but he, you know,
that's certainly
obviously
funny though.
Yeah, it is funny. And I just would have given anything in the world to see the look on Don Sundquist's face when he read that document. I'm sure he laughed about it as well.
Yeah.
You know. So, all right, let's move on.
Yeah.
To some more NASA stuff. Again, here we're seeing from the International Space Station.
What are we
There's
looking
an
at
object here that.
Oh yeah, that piece of debris that fell off of the space station that people are saying is a UFO.
Okay, well let's look a little closer shot now. Tell me if that's a piece of debris.
Yeah, that's a piece of debris.
It could be a. It looks like some kind of weird satellite, maybe, but I don't know.
Well, so I've seen the video. This is like a 2 or 2.5 minute long video, something like that. I've seen this video, and if it is a alien spacecraft, I say that with my air quotes. If that's an alien spacecraft, it is acting really, really weird because it doesn't appear to have any type of propulsion, and it's just kind of floating and twisting and turning. That's a piece of debris.
Right. It doesn't go across like those triangles did.
Right.
It's just floating across.
The triangles I can buy. I mean, that's.
And also, I can almost
going on.
agree with you on debunking this one because that doesn't match any known UFO type. I've never
close to a cigar
seen
type.
Anything? Not really. I mean, it's got too many fixtures on it.
That's close. I didn't say it was exact. If you had to compare it to one, it would be a cigar type, I think.
Yeah, a very deformed cigar. Maybe after the guy, you know.
A banana, maybe.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a banana with a peeling peel back.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
That's debris, dude.
That is. It's something that's, you know, a real object.
I mean, I will admit it is unknown.
But it's floating.
It's unknown what kind of debris it is.
Now here's another angle.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look quite like a cigar there at all. And, you know, it could be a piece of a satellite that, you know, was left over that's just kind of still in orbit.
The amount of space junk that's out there is phenomenal. And I'm surprised that we have anything that's up in orbit right now that doesn't get obliterated because of all the space junk.
Okay, let's go on.
That's debris.
So there's a better shot of it. But still...
That looks kind of flat on the top
It's a structured object, but that doesn't mean it's aliens.
True. It is unknown.
Now,
unknown type of...
Another NASA live feed shot, which this is from Soho Satellite that films the sun, right? And there's a UFO on the left here, a bright UFO, and that appeared, or actually someone notices that it appeared, It may have been there for a while before they noticed it, but it stayed there around the sun for 57 days. And see, the sun is right in the center. You see where the circle in the center?
Yeah.
That is NASA technology with the satellite. It blocks out the sun.
Yeah.
And the reason it does is so that the sun won't fry the camera stuff, because it's so close.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heat.
Yeah.
But over here on your right,
A
okay,
little round circle thing.
there is a strange shaped object, okay? And when we look at it closer,
It's not Mercury, right?
it looks like what? What do you think that looks like? A canister? They're calling it a canister, but
It's square looking.
yeah, I mean, it looks like it has rounded edges. There's something like a little lid up there at the top. But here's the weird thing about it, and we don't know sizes, okay?
Okay.
Because we don't know how far from the sun. No, we can look at two objects. The smaller one could be bigger than the one that may be closer to us, that looks bigger. We don't have a perspective on it. But here's the weird thing about this object, okay? The dark side of it is facing the sun. The bright side of it is away from the sun, which normally, you know, the sun hits objects and lights them up. So that's something weird about this object. It's just dark on that side. It's absorbing light.
It looks perfectly square to me. This
Yeah.
object. It doesn't.
It does have a contour to it.
In the previous picture, it looked more round. This
Well,
is
that was just at a
obviously
distance, yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously
Everything
enhanced.
turns into an
It looks-
orbit, a distance, yeah.
It looks square, and there are no straight lines in nature, supposedly.
Right, so it's not a natural object. It's got corners, whether it's a cylinder canister shape or it's just a square. Either way, it does have 90-degree angles. So we know it's not a natural object.
I wish we knew how close to the sun it was. Because, I mean, if it's close enough, it should be
Right, and
melting.
there are objects that have been spotted near the sun that are so close to it. Well, let's put it this way. The smallest dot that you see in this picture is many times larger than the Earth.
Okay.
That's what they said on the website.
Okay.
So anyway, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
It has
I'm going to have to
interesting
classify that
aspects.
as that's an unknown, man. That's a true, UFO.
Yeah, like what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And then, like I say, here, there's a smaller object that appeared after 57 days later. That, like I say, we don't know that it's actually smaller, but in our view, it's smaller.
It appears
and
smaller.
it's closer.
But the other object was stationary for 57 days.
Right. Well, that's this one.
Yeah.
This one
The
was
one to the-
this
to
one
the
was
left.
stationary for 57 days before this next one appeared, and then of course that canister object.
So
appeared.
what happened after 57 days? Did it?
It
just
went away.
disappear?
Yeah, it went away.
Just disappeared. They didn't see it.
They didn't see it. They didn't see it fly away. Or
Did they see it appear 57 days prior, or did it just like show up?
Well, they just started looking at the feed and started taking the pictures of it. It was already there.
Okay.
So.
So we don't know what that is.
It was in orbit around the sun. So.
Is there a close-up picture of that thing?
No,
Surely there
no,
should
that's
be.
it.
Okay. What the heck is that?
Now this is a Mars photo, and it doesn't look like just an meteorite or asteroid. I mean, it looks like it has some kind of structure to it.
That's too round. That picture is too perfect. I'm having a hard time buying that one. I don't know.
Well, this is a satellite.
I can't turn and see it
photo.
on the big green screen, but I can see.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't.
That's an interesting one.
It's interesting. I think it's too perfect. That's almost got.
And that you just made a very good point, because a lot of times when you see a UFO that looks like something from a Hollywood movie, that's a perfect disc or it's a shiny metallic object, that's not what the real ones look like. We're going to show you, you know, what the real ones look like.
Well, I'm glad you brought that point up, because
the real unknowns.
Here's the problem that we've got now these days. So prior to the 21st century, the best that we had were blurry photos of some sort of object in the sky. Sometimes they were black and white, sometimes they were color, right? You show the photo, okay, here's my UFO photo. And everybody says, oh, it's too grainy, it's too blurry. I need something that's more clear so I believe it. Now we get 21st century. Now we have all this technology. So here we come along, and we've got this picture of this UFO, and it's crystal clear, and say, look, I saw this up in the sky, here it is. And people will say what I just said, oh, it's too perfect. The image is too clear. It's a fake. Before, the image was too blurry and it's faked. Now the image is too clear and it's faked.
Right.
When is enough going to be enough? I mean, even if you have a film of it and it's landing in your front yard, they're like, oh, that was an app that the dude used on his iPhone.
Well, until the aliens step out and explain themselves.
So,
but why would they talk to an
we're killing
ant?
our own selves, though.
Yeah.
Now, I agree. There's a lot more faked footage than real. I totally get that, and you do have to be discerning. Right. But at some point, we're shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to UFO stuff, because you can't have it both ways. It can't be too blurry and not real, and then the image be a clear image and not real. I mean,
yeah,
so there's no...
most of the real stuff is not distinct. Even when you're seeing it as clear as you're ever going to see it, it does not look like what you want to see, that you've been trained to see in Hollywood movies. You know, well, a lot of times they're cloaked. These objects they cloak with the sky. They're blue or they're white, and with the clouds, they blend in, you know, but and sometimes they're totally invisible, except for you can see the outline when it moves, you know, so. Well,
how I kind of judge the authenticity of videos is I don't go by what is shown up in the sky. I go by the reaction of the people who are filming it and the people who are around that. I think the more genuinely surprised that they are,
that's the Chris Angel technique. He has all these people around that are reacting like, oh, wow.
And, you know, if you were not faking it and you had your camera and this is something that's going on, you're going to have a genuine reaction, and you're going to be trained on whatever's going on up there.
Why
you're not going to be panning around going, oh, look, there's the skyline, and here's my hand.
We're going to teach people how to film their own UFOs so that they will know that they're not faking it. You know, that way, and the simple way to do that is to block out the sun. And
your solar obliteration technique.
Solar obliteration, or I like to call it the eclipse technique, because that's why people have there's a plethora of UFO sightings during eclipses, because there's too much light, see, normally, and that just washes out most of the stuff that you would see. But when you block out the sun, there's still enough light to backlight the object, but it doesn't, you know, just disappear with too much light.
During the solar eclipse a few years ago, did you get any UFO footage?
2017?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I got a ton of, I got rods. I got a perfect rod with perfectly square wings, just one set of them in 12 frames, okay, going across.
Oh, I think you showed that to me.
And I also have some UFOs that are present during the eclipse. And, you know, I have to tell this part too. There's a face up there in the sky. It looks just like a face. It looks like the Shroud of Turin, like, oh, it's Jesus. Hey, it's a guy with a beard. But, you know, who knows? But there's some strange stuff going on during that eclipse, no doubt. So anyway, but yeah, the eclipse technique, you know, I learned it from John Bro. He had an article.
I thought you invented that yourself.
Now I'm so disappointed. Well, I wish, you know.
I am so disappointed now. God, all these years,
I invented calling it the eclipse technique. Okay. No, John Bro, a great guy from out in California, had an article on the internet. This is what got me started. How to film UFOs in your own backyard. So I thought, well, I'll try it. And I would have been excited if I just got a little speck going across, you know. I've been like, wow, that's great. But no, I got really clear structured objects, all different kinds.
Yeah, I've seen some of your footage.
I got the first one I ever filmed was an object that, you know, when you frame by frame it, it comes out of nowhere. It's like there's a wall, and it just comes out from behind that wall piece by piece. And then over here, it goes across for a little bit. Then it disappears piece by piece, like there's a line.
Like it's slowly cloaking itself?
No, because that would fade it. It would fade if it was cloaking itself slowly. No, this just, like it just goes into another place.
Like another dimension?
Exactly.
Interdimensional UFO?
Could be. I don't know.
What else we got here?
That's why it's unexplained. Here's another UFO close to the sun.
That's more sun, yeah.
And that looks similar to the other one.
That looks like it's darting out of the
except
sun.
the lens or whatever they've got is a different color. Yeah.
That could be some sort of solar flare or
Yeah.
corona effect or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about the original.
Oh, look.
Now we're back to the Nimitz again. But yeah, as far as the whole, you know, I mean, you can debunk specific things, right? And that's the first thing you do when you create evidence or you find evidence. You learn how to collect evidence in any paranormal stuff. You know, if you want to call UFOs paranormal, some people look at it that way. Some people look at it as, you know, technology from somewhere else. It doesn't necessarily mean it's from another planet or outside of our solar system.
Well, you can look at it paranormal. The prefix para, depending on your view of it, either means by the side of or above. So you could say that it's paranormal because it's beside our normal
outside of normal reality.
Outside of normal reality. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's right. And but these things are best experienced firsthand.
Yeah.
So having firsthand experience, that's why we're going to teach people how to do paranormal photography on the show, so that they can get their own evidence and decide for themselves what is it, what does it mean. They'll know it wasn't faked, right? They'll know that much. So, you know, if enough people are able to film these UFO objects, and by the way, that's been one of my main purposes, is just to show that yes, there are these structured objects that look like craft because they're on a directed flight path that are in the upper atmosphere every day of the week. You know, you can film them anytime the sun's out and you have a clear sky. Yeah, if it's real cloudy or they put down the chemtrails, there's another show we're going to be doing soon.
I'm a big chemtrail person.
Yeah, chemtrails are cool.
It's my bag, man.
And a lot of people say, oh, well, that's just, you know, that's just the regular contrails. It's condensation, or whatever weather explanation they want to use. But generally, when you film a 747, 727 commercial airliner, those contrails disappear quickly.
Relatively
almost
quickly.
As instantly. I mean, sometimes they last a little longer, maybe 30 seconds, but the chemtrails,
they hang around for a while.
Hours.
And they spread.
They spread.
They spread out.
And then you see these spider web-like things coming down.
Yeah, some people call those sylphs.
What?
Some people call those sylphs.
Sylphs.
SYLPH.
Yeah, the Hopi prophecy of the Hopi Native Americans actually predicted that these things would be in the sky, and they called them spider web-like, and that that at this time there would be a group of people, and they sound like a wonderful group of people, that they call rainbow warriors, right? And they're people from all different cultures and backgrounds around the world who are going to replenish the earth, you know, start growing things, doing things more naturally, and creating a better world. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because things are sucking right now.
I don't know, not really. And here's why. You know, people look at the downside of bad things, but if you look at the statistics worldwide, you know, just the numbers, that doesn't mean, if it's happening to you, obviously it's a messed up situation, and that we got a long way to go. But yeah, poverty's down. Things are getting better worldwide. I mean, in a lot of ways. We have a lot of technological advances. When they come into play, you know, that's going to help people. So yeah, life is improving.
Unless you're in India right now.
Unless you're in India, you know, and the pandemic's just
That's
raging out of control.
Yeah.
So,
how did we get to that?
have you had any experience with aliens? Because I've seen aliens in the woods, you know, and I don't know if I didn't see any spacecraft or anything. I saw like little gray alien type, you know,
I've seen your
classics.
Picture. I've seen your
You know.
picture. No, I've never had any experience with aliens. Like, I've had one, what I would call truly genuine, unidentified flying object encounter, and it was a white cigar-shaped object. It had no wings, no tail fin.
Okay.
It was moving across the sky, and it was low, and it was making, there was no noise.
No noise. No visible means of propulsion.
No visible means of propulsion, and I watched it go across the sky, and I was just dumbfounded. It was moving pretty slow in the middle of broad daylight.
Wow.
And if I would have had my wits about me, I would have ran and got my camera.
So this is a opening on Mars. It's not the entrances. And by the way, did we mention that those entrances were 137 miles long? I believe we did. And I don't know what the size, dimensions of this thing are, or if it's at the pole or where it's exactly located. It's on Google Earth, and you can look up the coordinates. There's a website that has it on there. And I'll put that up on a graphic. But that is probably, you know, pretty large itself. But like I said, I don't have a measurement on that. So anyway,
it looks like the Starlight Pit on Tatooine.
This is a Mars object from Google Earth as well, but it looks like a classic disc-shaped object, UAP or UFO, whatever you want to call it. And it just seems to have landed there. You can see it's casting a shadow. Do you have any?
Just like a top of a mesa or something to me. I mean, it could be anything.
It could be a giant mushroom that's...
It could be a giant mushroom.
The size of a mothership mushroom, yeah.
Or the top of a boulder that's kind of shaved off or something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of these, you know, I agree with you. There's a lot of photos from Mars where they're like saying, this is a gun, or this is a woman, and it's just a shadow on a rock. You know, it's ridiculous. I don't know why they
that pareidolia
put that
thing
stuff out there. You know, now let's look at a close-up of this object.
Okay.
Still doesn't excite you.
It looks like, no, it doesn't. Just like a round type object.
Right. I wish I knew more about that particular one.
Well, that about does it for this episode of the Weird News Network. Join us next time where we're going to be discussing more stories about the strange, the weird, and the unusual. For host of the show, Tony Pratt, I'm Sean Sandman Barnes. We'll see you next time.